Sea of Thieves is a great game, but is it a perfect game? No. There's always room for improvement, and that's what this video is about. So let's jump right into things and talk about some new features I think Sea of Thieves could really benefit from going into 2022. Part of the fun of Sea of Thieves is playing with friends, and the fact that the number of friends who can join you depends solely on the size of your ship can really put a damper on things. If your ship isn't big enough to accommodate all of your friends, then some of them might get left out of the fun if you don't want to forfeit the progress you've already made. While enforcing player limits on servers helps keep them stable and from becoming overpopulated, it seems like Sea of Thieves could greatly benefit from allowing players to swap to larger or smaller ships at outposts, as long as there's room on the server. That way there's more opportunity for friends to join sessions that are already in progress. Above the water in Sea of Thieves is a gorgeous world that feels alive. However, under the water, well, it's pretty much just this. Yes, there's siren-themed content in certain spots that helps fill the void, but much of the sea is bland and boring in comparison to what's going on above the surface. It would be really cool to see the water packed with new kinds of wildlife, just to make the sea feel more lively. Whether that's whales swimming just under the surface, dolphins occasionally jumping out alongside your ship, or vibrant jellyfish that glow during the night. Sea of Thieves has a lot of room to play with different concepts like these, literally. Look at all this room. I would love for the sea to feel more alive, and consequently make the game world feel more alive. I'm pretty sure all of you can relate to this one. It almost feels like a chore sometimes choosing all of the cosmetics you want to put on your ship, having to sort through many different choices to get it looking just like you want. The ship cosmetic system is practically screaming for the ability to create custom profiles so you can set up your ship with the click of a single button. This is a fairly minor grievance, but it's shared by a lot of players, and it could be so easily solved just by giving us the option to set up ship profiles. While we're on the subject of cosmetic profiles, the same might as well apply to player outfits. Having seasonal outfits we can put on with a single click is great, but being able to piece together our own outfits and save them so we can put them back on later would be even better. This just seems like a good quality of life update that would be relatively easy to create, and I don't doubt that a lot of players would appreciate having the ability to create custom player outfits. Boarding other ships in Sea of Thieves is a crucial part to naval combat, but when you're up against a vigilant crew, it can be almost impossible to do, especially given that you can be one-shot by a blunderbuss on your way up the ladder. It also doesn't help that your mermaid is a dead giveaway to the fact you're swimming in the water. And being able to shoot yourself directly onto an enemy ship from your cannon isn't a very reliable method of boarding either. The odds are stacked against you if you're trying to board an enemy ship, and I think a great potential solution would be the inclusion of a rope swing mechanic. This would be an easier way to get on another ship, and it would hopefully balance out in a natural way by how obvious the maneuver would be. The one part of your ship it feels like you have little to no control over the appearance of is the inside of it. While the interior of ships do feel worn and have character, it would be awesome to have options for how we can dress them up. I don't think creating a lot of individual items for interior ship customization is the right choice, seeing how many different models and placements would need to be supported for the varying sizes of ships, but being able to select an interior style for your ship would be an extra layer of customization that would push ship cosmetics to the next level. The bosses in Sea of Thieves differ greatly in terms of visuals, but not so much in terms of mechanics. Most have small, unique features to modify the way they fight, yet it's not enough to make encounters with them feel much different than the other bosses. It would be a welcomed change to see Rare push the boundaries a little bit more with the game's AI and combat mechanics. Just one example that immediately jumps out to me would be a phantom boss that has both ground and flying mechanics, which would end up forcing players to change weapons and strategies when fighting it. Unreal Engine is an extremely versatile game platform with a pretty robust AI system, and I would love to see Rare take more advantage of that. Introducing storage crates as a purchasable item from the Merchant Alliance representatives was a much appreciated update to Sea of Thieves, and making collector's chests purchasable in the exact same manner feels like it would be just as useful. Though there are now more ways in the game to find collector's chests, like visiting siren locations and sea forts, not everyone is looking to do these kinds of things. For instance, someone who wants to stack Order of Souls voyages doesn't really have a reliable way to acquire any collector's chests without seeking them out. It would be very handy if we could buy collector's chests at outposts, and it would better enable players to play the way they want. The Kraken, while a fun foe to fight, doesn't typically offer much in the way of rewards, or at least not enough to feel like it warrants the amount of time invested in slaying it. It doesn't make it much better that for every tentacle you drop, there's a small individual loot pile, meaning you're going to have to either move your ship a few times to get the harpoon in range of the loot, or swim out to each individual pile and retrieve the loot by hand. When you factor in how the Kraken also temporarily makes you more vulnerable to other player ships, there just isn't much of a reason to take it on if it spawns on top of you. Increasing the rewards for slaying the Kraken would make it feel like a much more worthwhile encounter, and incentivize players to stick out the fight instead of just sailing out of the ink and moving on to their next objective. Last but not least, Sea of Thieves needs better servers. It just does. Lag spikes, desyncing issues, and hits not registering are common complaints across the player base. And lately it feels like with each update to the game, it gets just a little bit worse every time. Whether this is actually due to Sea of Thieves being hosted on low performance servers, or if it's the fault of poorly coded network features, I'm not sure. But either way, a solution to the problem is very much needed at this point. So this is where the list ends, and I would love to hear what you guys think about some of these things. The intention of making a list like this isn't necessarily to put down Sea of Thieves in any way, but mainly to voice some ideas of what I think would help the game in the long run. I'm sure many of you have your own opinions and suggestions on what new features Sea of Thieves should adopt as well. So let's talk about them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe for even more Sea of Thieves content, and I hope you enjoyed.